Right then, as we know, Manchester United have to replace Casemiro this summer, and we are crying out for a youthful defensive midfielder. Casemiro is past his best, being as polite as it can be. Amrabat, honestly, has just been a pure ghost of a player that we saw at Fiorentina. And I think Mainoo is telling us he is a number 8. United need our own version of a Rodri or a Rice, someone that will be proven to be that sort of defensive-minded midfielder that can transform us into a top side. And I've said a few times, there's many players out there that fit that bill. Same way that there's many centre-halves. So there's not a single right answer into this. There's multiple right answers. And I'm going to keep doing scout reports on all of the ones that I think could be a good fit for Manchester United, or as soon as we're linked to one, checking out whether they could be a good fit for Manchester United. Now, one that I think is very much worth United looking at is Morten Hjulmand. And I've definitely butchered this pronunciation of that. I apologise, but Hjulmand is who I think that could be an excellent choice for us. Danish, 24, is a 6'8 hybrid defensive midfielder, right-footed, 6'1", which is a great height for a footballer. And in recent years, his development has been absolutely unreal. Sporting Lisbon this season have had a great season, and he is quickly becoming one of the best young defensive midfielders in Europe. He is incredibly well-rounded, technically very sound, as you would expect. Wouldn't look out of place in a possession-based team. Also, really, really underrated ball progression from him. He seems like he's a great character, which I think is something that United really have to start recruiting. Supposedly very coachable, underrated attribute when it comes to looking at any sort of player. Character, mentality, those sorts of intangibles are things that really going to make a player a success or a failure. Hjulmand seems to have all of this. He's got an excellent way of timing his tackles really well. Almost got a bit of a sixth sense defensively when it comes to positioning and blocking off zones. And when you see Manchester United at the moment being very gung-ho in our transition, someone that just sniffs out the danger and goes, wait, hang on, 6 lads have gone forward here. I better just occupy this zone, which is what someone isn't doing at the moment. Hjulmand would do that. That's what he does right now with Lisbon. That's what I think he would do in a United shirt. And it's obvious that his awareness is top-notch. Constantly scanning. And if you're constantly scanning and you've got a brain in your head that understands what's supposed to be happening, you will naturally gravitate to start being able to close off these areas, not get caught in possession, but also make sure that you're able to sniff out any danger should the worst happen. In possession, he definitely has enough ability and is press resistant enough to be able to get on the ball and turn, attract pressure, drive forward, find others, make the space for his teammates. And unlike a lot of our midfielders, he is always making the angle to receive, which I think is what makes a good 6 a great 6. And he's got the versatility because he's been playing and he's capable of playing that little bit further forward. He shows he's also got the ability to kind of ghost into the penalty area. And that box crashing is actually getting better. And his presence around the box in general has just kind of been getting better. When he gets there, he's got a real nice way of striking the ball. He showed it recently with that wonder goal against Benfica in a big derby. But defensively is where Hjulmand thrives. And that's where he's clever and he's athletic enough to thwart those counter-attacks time and time again. He gets his body in the right position. He can shield the ball. He can draw fouls. In a low block screen as well as a back line, he sticks to position and he only comes out when he's sure of winning the ball. I think he would look ridiculously good. Probably look ridiculously good because he would be so isolated doing this in a United midfield, but it's the exact sort of profile of player we need. Like I said, there is probably a dozen correct answers, but he is one of the correct answers. You know, he tracks runners. He makes sure people don't ghost off him into the box as a free man. And when people are going, why'd United concede so many cutbacks? I'll tell you why. Because we don't have anybody that's able to track runners. We have a back four, 40 yards of nothing, and then everybody else on the team. So when an opposition gets into the final third, they look for that check back because no one's actually made it back. Hjulmand fixes two things. Two things that we need, arguably three, because he makes us better playing out as well. This is the profile of player. Like I said, even if it's not him, you got to find someone that can do these things. There's no free man ghosting in and getting those cutbacks if Hjulmand's in the team. And, you know, he could probably even fill in as a makeshift centre-half if he was needed to as well. Now, in terms of the profile, I think he's the exact sort of description of a player that Ten Hag is crying out for. Defensively minded midfielder that will sit and allow two others to get forward. I think it would require, and I think it might require, full stop, Bruno transitioning to being our offensive 8 rather than out-and-out 10. Bruno was an offensive 8, box-to-box. Mainoo offering a little bit of quality and composure. Slightly different roles. A pair of 8s looking after one side of the pitch each rather than two of them trying to carve up half the pitch. You're now talking about zones that little bit more. And I think he would be perfect. You know, he could also back up the press if we wanted to really push high, because in the top percentile for tackles in the attacking third, it shows he's got that side of his game. He's drawn comparisons to being like a young version of Matic. There's even some comparisons with a younger Casemiro. The downside is the price, as it often is when you've allowed someone to go and taste the top flight in Portugal. Their release clauses are a bit spendy, and his release clause is somewhere in the region of £69 million, and he's got a contract for another 4 years. So you're not gonna just sit this one out. You're gonna have to pay the piper. But he's a suitable partner for Mainoo, and in my eyes, he makes Mainoo a better player because he takes that defensive responsibility off him and he lets Mainoo just get on with things and play football. Because I think Mainoo can do that. I think he's the sort of talent that you give a bit more freedom to and you rein other people in and build around him. He's going to be here for 10 or 15 years and he might be one of the best midfielders in the world. Might. He's got a long way to go yet. But the signs are there. Gamble and find out. And do you know what? If he's not, okay, you replace him in a few years' time. But it wouldn't hurt to try. It wouldn't hurt to give him a fighting chance. You've got to have a genuine number 6 in there behind that just goes, no, you go. I'm going to sit right here and watch what happens. Anyway, that's one option, as I said, for that number 6 role. I think this is the most important position for United this summer. We have to find someone for this position. And if you're going to spend big on one position, this is the one. This is the one for me that you go all in on. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.